Star Wars 7x7, episode 2053. Today, we're going to talk about The Disappeared Part 2. This is episode 9 from season 6 of The Clone Wars. We have a full Clone Wars briefing here for you. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. So here we go. This is a full spoiler briefing. Although the briefing itself is not going to take a lot of effort in this particular case because this is a rather action-packed episode. There's not a lot of plot development per se. We already know what's happening. All of it was set up in The Disappeared Part 1. And so now it's just a matter of resolving the situation before all heck breaks loose. And in this particular case, we find out something rather shocking, that the all heck breaking loose, the darkness and chaos and destruction and all that stuff is going to be caused by none other than Mother Talzin, the leader of the Night Sisters. This is the person to whom the Frangawl cult has dedicated itself. There's a mention of the Great Mother at the beginning of the episode, that they're bringing this sphere that contains the living force of various Dagoian masters, and she's going to be able to take it and somehow become more powerful than any Jedi or Sith in a ceremony that also will include I don't know what exactly it is they're going to do. They say it's going to rip the spirit from Queen Julia, but it doesn't sound like it's the same kind of thing that is what they were doing down on Bardota, where they were sucking the living force out of people. No, it's a different system with like lenses and alignment and all this stuff. Luckily, though, our heroes are able to track the Frangawl cultists and their escape from Bardota with Queen Julia, because they've also got this sphere with the living force in it, and Mace Windu is able to sense it and track it to a nearby star system where they've set up shop, and there's a temple of Malmoral over there as well. So ultimately they're able to find him, and then they have to go through crowds, and there's a guy who is an animal trainer of some kind who unleashes Gundarks, yes, actual Gundarks, on Mace Windu and Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar has moments in this episode where he reverts to his old self, if you will, like when he trips Mace Windu and Mace loses his lightsaber, so he has to start fighting Gundarks without his lightsaber, which is not helpful, and it's... what Qui-Gon did not like Jar Jar for, with him shooting his tongue out to grab apples in Shmi's house on Tatooine, that ends up working in their favor because he's able to, in a fight with the animal trainer guy, Jar Jar's able to get the lightsaber by shooting his tongue out and then spitting it out to Mace Windu. Mace, to his credit, does not go, ew, Gungan saliva, or anything weird about it, but he manages to take out the Gundarks. They manage to get to the Temple of Malmoral and have their climactic battle where Mace Windu is able to defeat Mother Talzin, and Jar Jar is able to rescue the Queen before these lens things get into alignment with the sunlight and ultimately tear her soul from her body. They're able to knock one of the Frangawl cultists in front of it and get Julia and Jar Jar out of the way just in time. Actually, what it is Jar Jar frees Julia, then a cultist gets in a fight with them, and it looks like Jar Jar is potentially going to be in the way, but Julia manages to push him out of the way and gets herself out of the way, and so the cultist gets his soul ripped from his body, and in the process, the sphere that had the living force energy crashes, and there's this giant explosion as the force energy is released. One of those, waves of energy that spreads all over the place, but somehow doesn't kill anyone, with the exception of Mother Talzin, who suddenly looks at this, broken glass thing and is like, "Ah!" and then fades away, similar to how half the universe faded away in Avengers Infinity War. And that's going to do it for our look at The Disappeared Part 2, but we're not done here today. In fact, we've got some big news about Season 7 of The Clone Wars, and the first 2 episodes in particular, which I will share with you after the break. Stay tuned. Hey Rebel Rouser, I've made some changes to the asteroid belt level at patreon.com/SW7x7, and they are all with sponsors in mind. So if you want to get the word out about your business, your product, your service to a dedicated Star Wars audience, then please check out patreon.com/SW7x7 and look for the asteroid belt level for details. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7x7. Welcome back. So, a video was released a few days ago about the Bad Batch, and this is a group of clones with quote-unquote desirable mutations. This was a video released as a preview for Clone Wars Season 7, and we also have the first 2 episode titles for the Clone Wars Season 7. They are The Bad Batch and A Distant Echo. So here's why this is particularly relevant. Back in 2015 at Celebration Anaheim, they did a thing about the Bad Batch and ultimately shared a story reel, which is basically like unfinished animation, but told the story of the Bad Batch on StarWars.com. That content for the Bad Batch has been removed from StarWars.com, and it's been gone for a while apparently, so that probably should have been a clue that maybe they were going to go the way of the Bad Batch in Clone Wars Season 7. Certainly seems like that's the case because according to Brent Friedman, who's the writer of this particular story arc, A Distant Echo was what episode 2 of this story arc was supposed to be. So I think it's a fair bet to say that our first story arc in Clone Wars Season 7 is going to be this Bad Batch story arc. And I guess at this point the question is going to be how much it deviates from the original story as it was told. And I'm going to go on a limb and say it's probably going to deviate. I mean, I don't know how much necessarily, but there was, oh gosh, I can't even remember where I read this now, but I think it was Sam Witwer actually was talking about Season 7 of the Clone Wars and about stuff that was recorded and made the suggestion that whereas some stories exist that you could go back and make changes to them and update them and revisit them and that sort of thing, but that for the most part they would be the same. I hope I'm paraphrasing him correctly, but I think that's what I recall. So anyway, ultimately what you need to know is that the Bad Batch story arc is going to be our first story arc in Clone Wars Season 7, which will be released starting Friday the 21st. So we are very close. But for now, we're going to have to call it a day on this episode in our Clone Wars conversation. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the galaxy you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.